Good evening, everybody. I am James. Here with me is Chris.
What's up?
Welcome to the first episode of the review show. That's the clever name I made up for it. It's not a great name.
It encapsulates what we're going for.
We are going to review. This is through Truckee Pacific, which is something brand new. We hope to bring you a lot of really neat, exciting things on this channel, much like this. And if you hate this, much like something else that you like a whole lot better.
And this is our inaugural video here in the new studio.
In the studio.
It's a studio.
It is
definitely not a basement.
It is not a basement. The things you hear upstairs are not people walking. But yeah, we got lights, we got everything. It's really cool. So Chris and I are here today because we needed to start off with something with like a good kick, and plus that and the lights came in today.
Yeah.
So what we're going to start off with is CW to DC's Crisis on Infinite Earths, which, if you don't know that, it is something. It goes on CW. It's the Arrowverse. It's Arrow. It's the Flash. It's Legends of Tomorrow. It's Supergirl. It's now Batwoman, and it's Black Lightning as of this crossover. Yeah. So it's an all-encompassing.
He's always been tenuously not part of the Arrow. Well.
He's never
felt
been,
like the Arrowverse, but not officially the Arrowverse.
They specifically, like, he's been in this. Black Lightning's had like 2 seasons, and they have not been part of the crossover. So this is the first time they've brought it in. But generally, CW is just making it's pretty much all DC TV and Riverdale nowadays, and Supernatural plays forever on CW. But so Crisis on Infinite Earths, which is great. People who follow the comics. It's a very big comic. I mean, it was literally what DC did to clean up their timeline.
Well, and it's one of those where, like, neither you or I were ever big, huge comic people, but it's one I remember hearing about when it came out. Like, I remember some of the covers. I'm like, I may not have read that, but I remember seeing, like, the Spectre fighting the Anti-Monitor. I've seen those pages, those covers.
Yeah, those are the known. It's the death of Superman. It's comic series that even if you weren't a comic fan, if you were a boy, not to be sexist, but if you were a boy between 89 and like 2001, there are certain things that you knew. And in between those times, apparently it was kind of okay to be sexist too. So, but no, so Arrow, which is doing its last season, is doing the Crisis on Infinite Earths, and to the point where, like, all of Arrow's last season thus far up to this point has been almost a prelude to Crisis on Infinite Earths. Like, they did the day
because you're the Arrow person.
I am the Arrow person.
Arrow I never really got into, but I've been watching bits and pieces to kind of have an idea of what's been leading up to this. So
basically what ended up happening, just to sum up where we are on the Arrow, on the specific show Arrow that got us to the beginning of Crisis. So at the end of last season, Stephen Amell's Arrow gets picked up by the Monitor, and him and Felicity have just, spoilers by the way, him and Felicity have literally just had a child, a little girl named Mia, and they're hiding out. They live in like a wooded cabin, super chill, and the Monitor came and said, Oliver, it's time. The deal you made in Elseworlds, which none of us knew what the deal was, but we knew Oliver made a deal because he had stepped away with the Monitor in Elseworlds, and he was able to come back and complete what they needed to do. And he said, it's time for the deal. So he had to leave Felicity and Mia, and basically what they've done in the 6 or 7 episodes for this season have been going through Oliver's greatest hits, going back and seeing prior family, his mom, Tommy Merlin, people who have passed away, in the guise of doing work for the Monitor. The Monitor is sending Oliver on this mission to build a weapon of sorts. So he has to go to different places and different Earths to find this weapon. The first place that we run into is he goes to Earth 2, where he runs into Black Canary or Laurel Lance of Earth 2 that they worked with last season. Earth 2 is the first Earth that we see in the Arrowverse get destroyed. And that's on an individual episode of Arrow.
Well, and it's kind of bringing us... We have them, like you said, setting the stage. And then for the last few episodes we had for Flash, Green Arrow, and Batwoman, we had our teaser... Well, our little stinger with... and I'm going to... Nashwells.
Nashwells, yeah.
And so we find out then basically... we're opening up the chamber of the Anti-Monitor, who we've only heard about at this point. And I think for me, what got me right off the bat, and sold me on the campiness of it, and I think for canon it's important to know then that Jack Napier is still alive.
Right.
And with them starting off, and I love with going to Earth 89 and having the actor from Batman there, but I love with having the Joker fight there. So we're making canon, and I guess Jack Napier is still around, so we still get Nicholson's Joker out there.
Right. They still exist out there. The characters are still out there. And then after they run into Earth 89, they make it to...
67, I believe?
With Burt Ward.
Yeah.
Holy Crimson Sky Batmans, which was funny. It was a good, introduction to it. We get the Earth X, which is Nazi world, basically, and we get to see Earth X destroyed, and then I think there was one other world in that universe that got destroyed, but I can't seem to recall.
Well, and I like that it kind of set the tone of what we're going for, and it was nice seeing the cameos, even though it had been built up.
Right, you knew
huge, and it's like they're going to be people who are on screen for seconds. But I love that we put all of this kind of into canon now, and let you know it's like, all right, they're actually having consequences. You're not saving Burt Ward. You're not saving.
But they may be, and we'll discuss that in a minute. I have some theories of how everything's going to play out, but things may happen. So we get through the layout of the beginning. We get to see the Earths are being destroyed, and then the next thing we get is Will Wheaton. Like, Will Wheaton shows up out of the blue.
But even that, though, you look at us going back to, because he had done the voices in the DC animated movie.
Yeah.
So definitely a deep cut on fan service that if it weren't for other videos, I wouldn't have known. But
you didn't know it was Will Wheaton when you saw it?
No, I knew it was Will Wheaton, but I didn't get why they had him in there.
I just figured Will Wheaton, just whenever there's a sci-fi thing.
It's nerdy, it just makes sense.
He's like, hello, it's me, Will Wheaton. I'd like to be on your show. So Will Wheaton shows up, and Supergirl saves his life, and she catches a dragon. And this is on Earth 33. I'm going to say it's Earth 33, which is based off the channel that CBS is in Los Angeles, where Supergirl started airing. It did not air on the CW, so that's why they're in a different universe than Oliver and the Flash. Looking past the camera, okay.
Well, there were even more. Yeah,
I think it's weird because I see you looking over at me. I'm like, why is he keep looking?
I know, and I'm like, you're looking.
I'm talking to the people.
We're figuring out video stuff.
My belief is I'm talking to you.
But it's conversation. Yeah. Okay.
It is conversational, but it's damn. How far back does it go? Okay, so basically, we went ahead and went through the whole universe.
Yeah.
Now I lost track of where we were in it.
Because you were saying we've seen Supergirl, so you have her saving Will Wheaton. Yeah. So we're getting like our intro to each of our
right. And this is Supergirl's episode. So it's broken up into 5 parts.
Which, much like Arrow, I'm gonna have to defer to you on some of it because it's never watched a lot of Supergirl.
Yeah, Supergirl's cool. What you do with Supergirl is you get Supergirl, you get Martian Manhunter, you get Brainiac, but good Brainiac from the very far future.
Which was interesting to me, having not seen their version of Brainiac. Yeah. It took me a minute, and then they were like, Brainy. I'm like, I guess that's one way to do Brainy.
Yeah. The Brainiac character. You also get Lana Luthor, who is kind of...
and I got from context, I take it that's who they were working with to get the machine.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so basically, Lana Luthor... long story short, Lana Luthor's kind of the villain now. Like, they kind of
She's a Luthor.
She's a Luthor.
Yeah.
And you also get Lex Luthor from the universe. So all the very distinguishable characters out of that universe are those. You know, you have Mon-El sometimes, but I don't know what's happened to him so far this season. And you get Superman. It's a Superman universe, you know.
Yeah.
So basically they're back at the DOJ, which is where Kara Danvers work, and they're talking to Clark and or they're sending a message out to Clark and Lois.
Yeah.
Because they're on this planet called Aura. I want to say Yora. Basically, they're on this. It's like an asteroid planet. I don't know. There's them and a bunch of other people. I don't know the depth of why they're there. but Clark doesn't have his powers because there's no yellow sun there, and they're raising their child, Jonathan Kent.
Yeah.
The wave that we've seen in every single episode up to this point shows up, and it's on its way to get Kal-El and Lois Lane.
Well, and it's like, so we're getting our stakes now, because you had said, so we've already seen Earth 2 now gone on Arrow, and we have this coming in. And how you were explaining stuff, that's one thing I like, though, is that it was quick enough to pick up, even not watching it. I'm like, oh, Superman's on a planet. I'm guessing he's taking a sabbatical.
Right.
And the evil, maniacal person that they need to help must be Luthor's daughter.
Yes.
But so we have this set up now, and we have the wave coming in, and as far as we know at this point, it's only Earth 2 that's been destroyed. Right?
No, but by this point we know Earth 2's been destroyed, and all those other Earths have been destroyed. The Border Ward Earth and everything like that. Like the people.
When we saw like the flashes last year with John Wesley's ship, I won't let you do this to my planet.
Yeah. That Earth was destroyed too, and that it was so. So we know quite a few Earths have been destroyed. Now, not everybody knows that. Like Oliver, I think right now is I think the team from Arrow knows it. I think Barry knows something's happening, but I don't think he knows that Earths are being destroyed. I think the only team that knows it is Oliver, because he's been working with the Monitor and Lila, who is now Harbinger, which is a weird character that I think was used a lot better in the comics than they are using Harbinger here, but that's neither here nor there. So at this point, they're in the DOJ. They saved, Jonathan Kent, Clark and Lois's son, got sent away in a pretty good, pretty cool homage to the
I like that story. That it kind of touching back to his own origin,
right? It's and Kara's origin. I mean, sending kids on pods a very Kryptonian thing to do.
It's a custom,
right? Apparently, on planets that are about to be destroyed. So at this point, Kara feels defeated because she has lost her cousin. Like, this wave is coming to her right now, and they don't know what they're going to do. Brainiac's on there trying to figure it out. Nobody really knows what they're going to do now. And then we start getting cuts to the other shows. Then we get the Monitor collecting people. Yeah. So we get him,
which is always like one of my favorite things whenever DC TV does their crossovers.
Right.
And it's always that same style, but it's always fun seeing the heroes get like rounded up, and you know that you're in for just cheesy comic book fun.
You feel like it's like you feel like you're ripped out of that page of the comic, like, because each show has their own distinctive like styles.
Yeah.
So
when you cut into that,
it's fun. It's a neat way to do it. So they grab Oliver and so Harbinger, she grabs Oliver and Mia, who is Oliver's daughter from the future, off of Lian-Yu, where Oliver hangs out all the time when he's not fighting and to save the city. They grab just Flash. There's no other people that they bring in distinctively from the Flash team on the first episode than just Flash. Like, Harbinger shows up and like, hey, Barry. And he's like, Lila, what's going on? And she's like, I'm Harbinger now. And Barry's like, okay, that makes perfect sense. They're like, and she's like, come on, let's go.
Another thing I do like with the DC shows is they don't over-explain things. It was just like, nope, I'm Harbinger. And it's like, actors in a different costume. It's like, okay, now you have powers.
Right. And then we get Ray and Sarah from Legends of Tomorrow. In just a very legend, like I say, with each of these shows having their own individual like feel to them. Like, Flash is very comic booky. It's like the most comic booky of them all. Arrow's the dark, gritty, and you got that from each of them. And then of course you land on Ray and Sarah, who
with the bar trivia. And like you said, it felt like something with Legends. Yeah, it's like, of course, that's what they'd be doing.
Yeah, and they would be failing because of something that they messed up.
That they changed.
So they grab that, and then the last person is Kate, is Batwoman, and I love that because she doesn't know Lila. She helped out in Elseworlds, so she knows Oliver and she knows Barry. She knows the main ones. She knows the top three, but she doesn't know who Lila is, and she was really dismissive to Lila.
Although I do like she's getting familiar enough with being in the superhero universe that it doesn't really stop her. That somebody just flashed in out of nowhere and changed something.
I like when they end up on the Wave Rider, or maybe it wasn't even when they were all the way on the Wave Rider. It's when they all first get together in the DOJ, and
yeah, when they're all brought in.
Yeah, and Kara's like, and everybody's kind of freaking out, like, what are we doing here? And Kate, the Batwoman, was really like not having it. She punches Lila in the face, and Kara has to come over, and she's like, "Yo, listen, trust me. I know you trust me. I trust these people. These are my friends. Just be chill." And then she takes off her mask.
Which another thing of streamlining that I like, that it's, if it weren't in the middle of a crossover, you could have done the trope of like, all right, you all have to fight each other before you're friends. And I'm like, I like that they bypass that. It's just like, oh, you're cool with Supergirl.
Right.
Then apparently it's all right.
And she vouches for her, and she vouches for everybody else. And so then when she takes off her mask, and I don't know if people catch it, but once it's revealed that she's Kate Kane, Oliver makes this snide remark where he's like, makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's like...
I did like that.
He's like, oh yeah, another just rich playboy who...
Something he can identify with.
Right. Because in Arrow, they have established on different episodes, like when they used to accuse Oliver of being the Green Arrow before they knew for sure that he was the Green Arrow. He's like, come on, what do you think? You think Bruce Wayne is putting on a bat cape, a scowl and cape and running around Gotham City? That's ridiculous, but it's funny. It was just a great play on that.
But I like at this point, so it's like you have all of our pieces set. We got our heroes and...
Right, and so then they make this big tower thing that's supposed to help stop the wave, the antimatter wave from coming on there.
Which is when we bring in Flash and
the Legends.
And
so Flash and the Legends show up. They had been on a mission. Oh, and they brought Superman. They saved Superman and Lois. And the Monitor's kind of a dick because the Monitor saved Superman and Lois from that place, and Kara's mom's right there, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna get her."
But it fits with everything we've seen of the Monitor so far. Of like, it's not exactly part of his plan.
He's just streamlined. Yeah. He just streamlines. So, but they've established a couple different things at this point when they're in there. Since they sent Jonathan Kent off into his own pod, he's somewhere else. He's in a different universe somehow.
Yeah, which. I just went comic books,
right?
And they even kind of hand wave it away. But I mean, that gives us our first little side quest for the episode. So we now have them going off to find Jonathan Kent, who we find out has ended up in a different time period.
Yeah, and that was Sarah, Brainiac, and Lois.
Correct, and McRory. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, and then we go. I like how they go pick up McRory. They get a Wave Rider
with Snart,
with Leonard Snart as the Gideon of it, and
that Mick is not as successful of a romance writer
in
this universe with only one published work, as opposed to his plethora of published work that we've seen in Legends last season.
Yeah. No, that was great. So they get us set up with weird old Oliver, which I did like. I feel like it was like Sarah's goodbye to him, kind of.
Well, I think and once again, because I'm not a big Arrow person, but when I've seen old Oliver, because I've had him on The Flash, and I've seen him once or twice,
Legends.
It seems like they were just setting it up because they put in this horribly depressing character, which is all Oliver is, and I think, I don't know, maybe the writers being like, yeah, we're sorry, we'll at least give you some closure.
Right.
Before your Earth gets destroyed, because I didn't know exactly why they went with him either, because that didn't make as much sense.
It was an extra scene that wasn't neat. I don't even know why we lost Jonathan Kent. I know why Jonathan Kent's there. He's been outside of the fact that yes, we know they have a kid. They should have left it with some cosmic babysitter, But I don't understand.
Who we're seeing is a fantastic babysitter.
Yeah.
Well, and I kind of wonder if that's a nod to the comics when you have Superman, Kal-El being raised and ending up as
the Batman?
As Batman. And I wonder if that was kind of a nod to that, maybe. Because Green Arrow, would have raised Jonathan Kent then.
Right.
To be an Arrow. But, yeah, I don't think they had to bring him in, but I think maybe that was just the staff being like, yeah, this is a depressing character. We should give him, like, a minute of happiness.
Yeah.
Before his Earth gets destroyed.
Yeah, he was really sad. That Oliver... But he still did the same thing, and he built there's a lot of things about that was weird about that. But I felt that was an unneeded scene. But more importantly than that, they are now all our heroes that are still on Earth 33 are out fighting to make sure that building that the Monitor put up stays
their
intact.
little defense mechanism.
Yeah, and so they're fighting shadow demons.
Yes.
Which they were all right. It's neat. It's what you expect.
It was what got me with it, and you can tell. And I won't even say with the episodes so far, because we've seen 3 at this point, even though we're going over the first one. I haven't seen any big CG stuff that blew me away. And even for CW, like the Shadow Demons felt a little cheap, which makes me hope that they're like saving something big for the tail end of the crossover. Like they didn't look bad,
right?
But
they looked better than the Dementors did, or the Dominators did when they Rainwater on the first crossover, or second one.
You thought they looked better than the Dominators?
I think they did. The Dominators look pretty dumb a lot of their time on screen.
And we're dealing with like CW special effects,
right?
So I'm thinking it has to be a money thing because they weren't as scary, but I mean they were good for the show. But even it felt much more CW than some of the stuff we've seen in the shows lately.
Right. So basically, what ends up happening at this point is they're trying to get Lana Luthor to help them build things to allow people to escape.
Yeah, 'cause we're finding Earth 2 is pretty much doomed. You're not going to be able to...
33 is dead.
33, sorry.
Yeah. And so basically, when they're loading people off of the ships left and right, and our heroes are in the middle, and the Monitor's like, yo, we got to get the hell out of here. And he starts zooming people away. And
once again, just completely nonchalantly, as we see the Monitor
he doesn't care.
do it, just like, oh, all right.
And then he gets to Oliver, and he said, Oliver, it's time to go. And he said, is everybody off the world yet? And he's like, no, then it's not time to go. And Oliver, being the smart badass that he is, and he does this every once in a while, he pulls out an arrow that he specifically had to figure out how to disable the anti-monitor for 30 seconds, or the monitor for like 30 seconds.
Which that bugged me, and I had to tell my brain to stop. I'm like, we're seeing a cosmic being that's, I'd say at this point, more powerful than anything we've seen on the CW shows, and Ollie was able to figure out an arrow that can hurt it.
He was smart enough to bring in kryptonite arrows the other season when Arrow went bad. And I loved his response when she asked him, why the hell would you have a kryptonite arrow? And he's like, in case you went bad. Oliver's smart. So in this push of the end of this season, of the end of this episode, Oliver stays behind, and they've established that Oliver saved another billion people off Earth 33. And they've all came to Earth 1 now, and Earth 33 is destroyed. Supergirl's home is destroyed.
Yeah.
Everybody's destroyed.
And that got me, like, I figured they'd have some big consequences, but I didn't expect very quickly on the first episode of the crossover to be like, all right, no, this entire planet and like 4 billion people are gone, which...
Yeah, they say like 3 billion out of 7 billion people.
Yeah, which I was expecting higher stakes for the crossover, but I was just amazed the first episode. It's like, no, that's half of the Earth is gone.
And that wasn't even it. It was the first episode ended with the death of Oliver Queen. The death of the Arrow, the reason the universe exists at all. And that one I didn't see coming. Like, there was a lot of things that, like, through this I've been able to predict or play out, but sidelining Oliver in the very beginning of the crossover, in the first episode, and not just sidelining him, he didn't get like Bruce, he got killed. Oliver Queen, the Green Arrow, got killed. And if it stays if it stays this way, if it doesn't change, if he doesn't magically get to come back to life, which I don't think he will.
Because Arrow is a show that's done. And Amel, I know probably isn't done with showing up occasionally, but I think we're seeing the last of...
He has 2 more. Yeah, after the end of the crossover, there's 2 more Arrow episodes. So, Arrow got killed not even on his own show.
Yeah, and that did surprise me. And, you know, like I've said a couple times, I'm not even as big of a fan of Arrow, but that I did not expect on the first episode. It's like, oh, you're going to take out one of the main players there.
Yeah, the main player, the godfather of this universe.
And I like the way they handled his death. It
was powerful. His daughter got to be there. His friends, his closest. Yeah, like his superhero.
It felt respectful to the character without being like incredibly sappy. Convenient that Shadow Demons only severely cut him,
and
left him alive.
Yeah, and they really left out. his son did not get to say goodbye. Mia gets to say goodbye, but William doesn't even know. I don't know where William went. Like on the episode of Arrow before it happened, everybody was there. William and Diggle, and then it was just Mia and Oliver. So, but yeah, so that's how episode 1 ends. Like episode 1 ends, and what we've established is that Earth 33 is gone. Everyone's on Earth 1 now. We'll go a little bit farther into it, but that's one of the big things that I tried to talk to Chris about earlier this week. And it was the fascinating. Now, will it always stay that way? Will there be a multiverse? Maybe. I think in the comic there's like 7 different multiverses or 8, something.
I know, right? And if anyone is watching this, which I hope you are, tell me if I'm wrong in the comments right now, but I believe they've gone back to it's just a like gigantic multiverse of multiverse.
No, but initially at the end of Crisis on Infinite Earth, it all got centered down into a handful of universes, right? Like
no,
everything to
Crisis
one?
originally went to 1 after the original Crisis on Infinite Earth.
See, and
I believe I could be wrong.
I'm intrigued about that. I wonder. I was like, oh, are they really going to do this? Are they going to? And to me, I'm very excited about that. The concept that Kara could exist in, this universe, the Earth 1, is neat. It's a real fun thing. So, but that's what we got. We got the DOJ. Everybody, they're there.
Well, and I like that they did that as somebody who, once again, hasn't watched a huge amount of Supergirl.
Right.
But I'm glad that it is kind of under the same roof.
Yeah.
Because I like the episodes I'd seen, and I like the crossovers, but it did get a little annoying sometimes where it's like, you can't just have Supergirl pop in. Or when they would have the episodes where it is just a pop-in episode, you still have to go through some convoluted reason.
Right. Until Cisco just gave them those brooches that everybody uses, which that's all they are. They're brooches. Yeah. So that's episode 1.